Hello and welcome to the Overcomers podcast from Dominican Republic. I am in Punta Cana, República Dominicana, and I am enjoying the pre-festivities of my upcoming 43rd birthday on Wednesday, June 1st. Big up, big up. I'm excited because I'm here with my daughters, my adult daughters, and with my niece and some friends and some newfound family that, just because you're not blood doesn't mean you're not family. And I am enjoying the ambience of my country. I always get emotional coming back home because this is the grounds where my family is from. And as you can see, there's all the natural elements of being outdoors, but I did want to come on this visual podcast just to kind of give you an idea of what it feels like to engage in self-care. But my family is from here, and my grandmother has passed on. She passed when I was 15. My dad passed when I was in my 30s. It's going to be about 10 years now. And I always connect when I come here, even though I'm not in Santo Domingo, I'm in Punta Cana, but it's all the same country. The people are amazing, the food is delicious, and the connection is so real. I really value and cherish the start of my family's lineage to where I am now. It was off of the backs of my grandparents and great grandparents and all the way back. So it's exciting, it's amazing. Welcome back to another episode of the Overcomers podcast. And today I just want to talk about what the lesson is, right? What is the lesson in any situation and circumstances that you're going through? My ears are popping because we're up high in the mountain. But the lesson, even on this trip, the lesson in what life was before I came on this trip, the lesson of where you are today and where you find yourself. Yesterday I was able to have the luxury to have a spa in the ocean, and just the water, the ambiance of just peacefulness, the detoxification that was happening, and the stillness of just being present, just brought me to a different space. Outside of excursions and partying and having fun and drama, like whatever the situation is that you are finding yourself in, what is the lesson? And when I was in my space of stillness, I found that if I could rate from 1 to 10 what my trigger factor was, which was probably at a 15, and what my response was, I was definitely out of 4, right? My coping and just being triggered and then learning how to bring myself down to a place where I'm not reactive. And I found that even though I may not outwardly react, my insides were on fire, my insides were anxious and busy again, and I had to remind myself of what the lesson is. And what I found was that there was a lot of miscommunication that happened. Listen, it's a huge group that came, and between trying to translate for a huge group, trying to plan the hotel accommodations, and just all of that was just a lot. It wasn't, I didn't start it, but I ended up being kind of in it. But needless to say, as a helper, right? If my husband was here, he's like, Bridget, just let the balls fall where they may, just like my therapist said, just let it be. But the administrative in me, the organizer in me just kind of went into collective mode. Okay, let me do that. But what I found was that I probably was doing way too much because, again, that wasn't my role. But in that, I was finding myself trying to fix things, trying to make things better. And that's why at last week when I spoke of in the last episode about not being a fixer, just stepping back, letting things go where they go. Now this week I'm being tested in that same very area, and that's why I gave myself a 4. It wasn't a 1, it wasn't a 0, but I still I'm working my way to that 10 or 15. But for the most part, the fact that I was able to self-reflect and recognize, okay, where is this coming from? What is the spark that's happening, that's making it so that I need to go into position? This was very familiar, this feels like I need to do this and that. And then I had to sit back and realize, Bridget, we're operating on a spirit of rejection. You're walking and reacting in the spirit of abandonment, and in the sense of me not just allowing things to fall and be how it needs to be. The point that I want to say in this lesson, for me, my lesson, because we all have different lessons, we all have, let me let the truck pass. They busy, they working, they doing what they gotta do, making them pesos. But the point that I want to make for me, the lesson that I'm finding for me in this particular scenario that I found myself in was that innately, like it's just something that comes due to a previous experience. And when you're working your way out in healing, and you're working your way out in just self-identifying, self-reflection, you have to understand that even though you may have a mishap where it's like, dag, I missed the mark, I'm at a 4, one, the scenario is going to present itself again and give you ample opportunity to get the test right. But also, it's about really extending grace to yourself and knowing that we're not perfect. Knowing that even in this, you're still worthy. Even in this, there's value to your story, and even to where you come from. And you're going to come across a lot of situations where everyone's not going to have the same experience or the same journey, but you will have to honor everyone's path. And the goal for me in this trip for my girls is just to widen their lenses, right? And so often we hibernate and we isolate and we think that our world is just this little space that we confine ourselves to. Hold on 1 second. But it's not just this space. It's even wider than the town you live in, wider than the state that you live in, the country that you live in. And when you come out of the country, you realize that, wow, life is so simple and we make it so difficult. And even in the things that may feel uncomfortable for us, like, we were eating dinner at the restaurant the other day and the lights went out. And my daughters are looking at me like, what's going on? And I said, we're in the Dominican Republic. This is just kind of part of the process. And we just have to give it a couple of minutes. The generator's about to kick in. But know that it's just an adjustment shift, and you acclimate yourself to the environment that you're in without losing yourself in it. And I found that I was in certain scenarios where I had to like adjust, right? The trigger happened, and then the response is, okay, am I gonna really overreact? Am I really gonna personalize this? Am I really going to ruin my vacation or allow this uncomfortable transition to shift me into a negative thought pattern and back into those motor words? Or am I going to just kind of lift my perspective a little higher and not personalize things? And so coming from someone who, you know, has struggled with the spirit of abandonment, spirit of rejection, then that's why I was at a 4 and not at a 0, because the trigger response affects, but it didn't take me all the way out how I would have probably been before. So I'm pretty proud of myself, doing what I do, and learning myself and learning new coping strategies. And I want to encourage you, and I want to like just have you explore what your triggers are, right? So a trigger could be something someone says. It could be the lights going off while you're in the middle of having your dinner at a restaurant in a public place, or not understanding a language and being frustrated about what people are saying. And then you gotta watch how you're responding to people. I'm learning about this defense wall that I always used to have around me, and it protected me, it served me well when I needed it, but now it's time to let those walls down. And when you put those walls down, it causes you to have to be vulnerable. And that's the key to the temperature of your response, is if you are unwilling to be vulnerable in a space that's calling for vulnerability. So let's say you don't know something. Being vulnerable means being vulnerable means admitting, I don't understand this. I don't know how to do that. I don't know, you know, I need help with this, and I need support in that. That's where vulnerability shows up. But sometimes that is difficult to do when you are in defense mode. And instead of being vulnerable and soft, we tend to react, fight or flight. You remember, I've been talking about my fight or flight responses. And learning how not to engage the fight or flight response is important. When situations happen, people are in the hallway. People are, when people are at that fight or flight, then it causes you to need to, it causes you to respond.
Yeah. Genesis! We're parasailing! And we are up